Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Anssi, the innovations guy, and Antti
I'm
is
Antti. Nice to meet you all.
So for all those who are not familiar with YLE or YLE, as we call it in Finland, we're the national broadcaster. So we're a media house with 4 TV channels, 6 radio channels, and sort of like an online media platform called Arena, which is actually the only, globally only service that tops Netflix on market share on their own territory. So we have one of the most respected media brands in Finland. As we know, media industry is going through a series of big transformations and a profound change. And as a public broadcaster, we were set up in 1926 as a radio broadcaster. And we kept doing that model, of course, expanding to TV for about 80 years. And in that model, it was all about infrastructure. So who had the channels was sort of like in charge, and we could produce our content ourselves or license it from other people who are producing content. But the business model was quite simple and easy to understand. So we broadcasted and people consumed. Then a bit over 10 years ago, it all changed. We entered a area of social media, where all of a sudden value was created by networks, and success was determined by one's ability to create these networks and put them into use and use the attention of these networks. And just when we were about to get our head around this new environment and new way of making this media, we are seeing signals of the next generation of media, which we like to call the ubiquitous media, which basically is the technologies and the platforms that you guys are working with. So we are seeing emergence of new displays, new kind of IoT sensors. We are seeing smart watches, smart this and that, smart speakers. And all of a sudden, we are in a new, much more complex and much more complicated environment. And it seems that, or our interpretation is that the success in this kind of complex environment is determined by one's ability to gather and process and learn from data of consumption and data and the context of the consumption. Now, when we're talking about IoT, we are first looking at these new devices and platforms as new user interfaces. Both interfaces that are capable of delivering our content, showcasing our content, and also sensors and devices that are able to collect data and give us more information about the users and the context our content is used in. Then this is not necessarily IoT, but another focus area is, of course, understanding our own content better. So enriching it with better metadata and understanding that if the new users with new interfaces are looking for something, do we have that and can we match that those requirements with our content and do recommendation. And of course, then when you add some cloud calculation and machine learning, you get automation, and in the end, what we are aiming for is a personalized media experience. So moving from mass media to an audience of one, and trying to cater for the needs of an audience of one with custom content that in the end, hopefully, is also generated and sort of customized for the audience of one. And in the end, we hope that this will create a customer experience that will be of what we will live off. In details, where I was assuming that there's a lot of people who are into data and what kind of data we would like to gather and use. This is a picture we got from our AI and analytics department. And the first thing that we're interested in learning from IoT platforms is basically who are the users. So identifying the customer, then probably building their user history and understanding their preferences. And of course the context. So if you're taking a bus ride, you might want to have a specific kind of content. If the bus ride takes for 24 minutes, you want the content to be less than 24 minutes. If you're passing by some scenery, you might want the content to somehow be related to the scenery, you might not. And we would like to understand all of this. And once we have all this data, of course, we would like to understand our content better. We would like to understand the purpose that the content was made for. And of course, the context of the content. So if it's amusing content or if it's informative content. And then in the end, we would like to do recommendation and find the right content for the right use cases. Of course, this new ubiquitous and complex media environment poses us with new questions. So, like I said, we were born in the era where we owned the infrastructure, and it was our channels, and it was very one-to-many broadcasting. In future, we will always be a part of a larger ecosystem. Now, in most cases, we don't own the ecosystem. It's somebody else's ecosystem in a sense, or at least the infrastructure is owned by somebody else, and maybe the platforms are owned by somebody else. So, as a media company, of course, and especially as a public media company, our business model is that people choose to have a public service media, and as long as we stay relevant, they choose to have us. And if we we produce content and we deliver content, it's very important for us, the people, to understand that they are being served by a public service media and not somebody else. So brand affiliation and understanding that they are in contact with our brand becomes even more important when we are working in third-party platforms or different complex ecosystems. Also, if you think about us as a news media, the trust that people have in us delivering accurate messages. Also, if we're dealing with data, we believe that people are willing to trust us with their data. We want to be really careful with the data. We want to empower the people to use their data, control their data. So, of course, trust is in the core of our business. And when it comes to sort of publishing content, editorial judgments and decisions have to be made in-house. Now, this is going to be very interesting in this complex ecosystem. How do we arrange that, and how can we secure that all of these decisions are made in-house? The data is being handled in a very trustworthy and manner, and all the privacy issues are taken into account. Yes, the success in this new environment requires fundamental changes in both technological and editorial competencies. So we need to hire new people. We need to understand this ecosystem much better. That's one of the reasons why we are here. And that's why we are sort of like taking these first steps into the world of IoT and all these new ubiquitous medias, and trying to understand what are the new big opportunities that they will present us, and how do we seize these opportunities. And in the end, of course, we don't want to be reliant completely on third-party platforms. What are the chances of us actually operating a platform, and can we have our own platform? That's one of the biggest questions we are facing at the moment. So these are some of the big questions that my colleague Antti has to answer as our head of youth media in the coming few years, and he's here to explain us how we plan to tackle these challenges.
Yes, like Anssi told you, I work more with content, not that much with technology. And if you put the next slide, please, Anssi, I can continue. I have these two brands I work in a daily basis. And another one is a YLE Kioski. That is a social media video service for young audiences, 15 to 29 years old Finn. And using, for example, social media platforms, we are reaching those youngsters really well weekly. And another media brand I have is a YLE X. That is a youth radio station concentrating more or less on music. And right now we are changing YLE X to be more music media instead of FM radio station, because we know that young audience don't listen linear radio that much anymore. So my main task inside YLE is to figure out how to reach new and especially young audience to consume YLE's content. and I have these new two brands, YLE Kioski and YLE X. So you might ask why we are here, and we think that we have to be ready what will happen in the future. And I have to admit that IoT is not that familiar to me. I don't know that much about it. And I think you are pros all here. But we have a few thoughts, I have a few thoughts. A few days ago, I was in Reykjavik, and I have few extra hours time, and then I decided that now I write something down for you, what I think about this IoT and the media, and now I think that I would like to read my notes to you. And because I don't have any fancy IoT devices right now with me, unfortunately, to use as a teleprompter, I have to grab my phone from my pocket and use it when I read this letter to you guys. First I open Google Mail where I send it to, and now it will begin. Because we don't want to rely just on third-party platforms, we are trying to find what is the media ecosystem in the future. That's why we are interested in to explore what Internet of Things has to offer for us. Right now, third-party platforms are the most powerful way to reach youth. For example, with these two brands, we are reaching every week 70% of population of 15 to 29 years old every week. But what about after 10 years? We don't know where we live in those days. What is the ecosystem we need to be prepared to? You can put the next slide, by the way, Anssi. I'm using you again as a slide changer.
No.
Does it work or
No.
not?
No. That's that. This is it.
Next one.
Nothing's happening.
Are we lacking of? Well, never mind. I can continue.
That's interesting.
I think we have to find new moments in people's lives. What does it mean and how to be part of those moments? We know that right now mobile phone is main device that is part of the every moment, but what happens when other devices can also connect into web? Will they interrupt the power of the mobile phone? Do we have to understand these devices better, what they even are, and what does it mean to content production and concepts? In some occasions, mobile phone is not the best device to fulfill your needs. You have to grab it off from your pocket, or be careful that it won't get wet or drop, especially when you are on move. And at home, there are a lot of surfaces and other devices that could work better than a mobile phone. And if there is the future that infrastructure is built with sensor technique, is it possible to advance it when serving people better, when we know where they are and what they perhaps do than we are doing right now? Media industry is used to produce video, audio, and text that fits in TV. We are good at creating content for TV and radio and learning how to create good web content for browsers, mobile devices, and social media platforms, but we have no clue what Internet of Things mean for content production. We do know that same content we produce, for example TV, doesn't fit into social media, and we do know that news narrative is totally different when creating content for a website instead for mobile usage. That's why it is pretty obvious that when we start to produce content into these new moments and new devices, we have to learn a whole new way to create and publish content. And what content even means on these IoT platforms. A few months ago, we started Kiosking Things Innovation Contest that we could learn what kind of products could be served on IoT ecosystem. Project was really ambitious and we had great expectations. Unfortunately, after the first round, we noticed that we couldn't get that innovative ideas we hoped for. And at the same time, we realized that if we seek ideas from startups and other technology companies, the knowledge of media is not good enough to tweak new ideas. They see media too much just content provider. Bigger picture missed. So we stopped the contest and now we take some breath and think again, what could be the best way to innovate within Kiosking Things Innovation Contest? Right now we think that the best way to create something new is to create deeper relationships between innovative companies. So deep that they work with our specialists and journalists and try to find new conclusions together in the long run. 6 months ago, we visited with Anssi in China. And one learning was that over there, for example, some building companies are trying to find media partners to solve this dilemma. Could that also happen in Finland? I think yes. The more I think opportunities of Internet of Things, the more I am convinced that we have to think it in a way that could we as a public broadcaster fulfill our mission, not just putting out the content. We want to back democracy and help people in their everyday life, but is the format, video, audio and text kind of old? Could we be more than that? Could we be something more concrete in some way? Well, now I don't have that slide, but I tell you that we know what are 4 primary motives why people use media. They are connection to other people, understanding about the world, adjusting your mood, and understanding about yourself. And if I go through all of these motives, maybe we together understand what I'm trying to tell you to you guys. The first one, connection to other people. And by the way, we use these motives as a tool when we plan what to publish for public. They are our tools in daily basis. When we, for example, buy some content from production companies. But now, the first one. Connection to other people. In the past, TV connected whole nation. We sat on TV all together at the same time. And in the morning when we came to work or school, we discussed about it, for example. But that happens nowadays rarely, at least between under 30s. They are connected via social media or with their messaging apps like WhatsApp, Snapchat and TikTok. It is their TV device, more or less. They are connected to other people on these totally new platforms. Do they even need us as a public broadcaster anymore to fulfill this first motive, to connect between other peoples. Many other platforms and devices have taken this traditional role from media and media industry in a way. But is there anything to do? Is there any moment or need that is so special, for example, to Finns, that we could be part of it because, for example, global markets will never do it? Could YLE be the connection between those who think differently and offer them something global algorithm and platform will not offer? Connection to someone who do not think like you. And second motive, understanding about the world. This is easier part for us, at least if I compare it to how to create connection between other people. For example, Kioski has created understanding since it started, offering news and explainers and publishing them on social media platforms. It is really inspirational to think how we keep people informed in the future. I am sure Internet of Things has a lot to offer for that one. Will we learn how to tie together location, device, person and his or her information history and offer information or help, for example, via augmented reality? But first we need to have better devices and maybe even smart infrastructure and sensors on walls. Sounds a little bit scary, but still. Mobile phone is not the best device for that, in my opinion. AR glasses perhaps are, I don't know. And what role plays, for example, smart rings and watches or smart speakers? And if we put this other way around, what we learn from people behavior in the future when everything are connected and devices carried by people send data to us if they allow it? Could it be the new source of news even? Or does it sound too scary? I don't know. A third motivation, motive, adjusting your mood. People don't consume news because they don't want to get sad or angry, we have found. Sometimes they do and got disappointed. Then they start to watch comedy series or find something nice to listen. Media is a really powerful tool to adjust your moods. In the future, could it be possible, for example, via biometric devices, to know moods of people and offer them media they want to consume at the moment? Or if we know that people get angry when watching the news via smart TV, by collecting emotion data via face recognition, for example, should we develop our news programs to be not that sad or frustrating? In other words, can we use Internet of Things in a way that because we know more about person, we fix the offering to meet people's emotions and needs at the very moment? I am sure there are plenty of innovations to waiting us, but we don't know them yet. Maybe you can help us. And finally, fourth one, understanding about yourself. In the past and even now, media created a lot of content that helped people to explore who they are and why. How to improve yourself and so on. Self-help, for example. Now in the era of personalized media and, for example, biometric devices, we are capable to help people in new ways to understand themselves. You can compare you to others or collect biometric and other data from you during the day, and with that information, we are able to help people better than ever before. In a more personalized way, tailored just for you. And I think that's all about it. YLE offering more personalized service into people's new moments through devices we don't even know yet. When it will happen, I predict sooner than later. Thanks for my behalf. I don't know, do you want to continue or
Sure. I guess I'll say...
are we here?
Yes. So I guess what I'll say is that now if you guys got interested or curious about what's happening next, have a look at our YLE beta project, which is our incubator for future media. If you guys are interested in trying out things and learning together with us, please get in touch. Let's do something cool together. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.